the colors you brought. They say our world forgot how to dream long before I was born. The skies are gray, the oceans are pale, and every sunrise looks the same. No blue, no red, just endless shades of ash. They call it purity. I call it death without a grave. My name is Eiran. I'm a visual architect, a designer of digital landscapes for a world that no longer believes in beauty. My job is to create illusions of color for the state's virtual platforms. But the irony is cruel. I've never seen color myself. None of us have. Each morning I wake up to the same mechanical dawn. The city hums, low, constant, soulless. Faces move past one another, each more faded than the next. People smile only because the social code requires it. Sometimes I dream, though I shouldn't. Dreams are considered a malfunction of the mind, but I can't help it. In the dark, I see flickers, faint lights rippling across my eyelids like forbidden ghosts. I don't know what they mean, only that they make my heart race. And then, one night, something changed. It began with a sound, soft at first, like distant thunder. The sky trembled, the air thickened, and suddenly the gray clouds tore open. For the first time in my life, I saw light. Not white, not gray, but something else. Something alive. A streak of color ripped through the heavens, bleeding across the horizon in waves of crimson, blue, and gold. The world around me froze. People stared upward, confused, frightened. But I couldn't move. My chest tightened. My pulse screamed. Because for a moment, just one unbearable, perfect moment, I felt alive.
That night, the world didn't sleep. Sirens howled through the city, broadcasting the same word again and again: containment. People locked their doors, but I couldn't. Something inside me pulled me toward the edge of the district, where the color had fallen like a wound in the earth. The streets were empty, only the echo of rain. No, not rain. Droplets of light, melting on the pavement. The air shimmered faintly, vibrating with a frequency that made my teeth ache. And then I saw her. She stood at the heart of the crater, barefoot, surrounded by faint waves of color that rippled outward like water disturbed by breath. Her skin was pale, almost transparent, yet veins of living light ran through her, pulsing in rhythm with the storm above. Her eyes, I can't describe them. They weren't eyes that looked. They felt, like they could see through the shape of me, straight into what I'd forgotten I had, a soul. I should have run, but I walked closer instead. "Who are you?" I whispered. My voice broke the silence like glass. She turned her head slowly, and when she spoke, her words came not as sound, but as light that shimmered in the air before forming into meaning inside my mind. "I am Kaelra. I followed the signal." "The signal?" I echoed, confused. She tilted her head, curious. "It called for help. From you." The color around her flickered, red to blue, blue to violet, each hue carrying a feeling that washed through me: warmth, sorrow, longing. She took one step forward. I didn't move. "Your world has forgotten the spectrum. You live in silence, but once it was full of sound and light and love. You've erased it." I couldn't speak. My throat was tight. "Where did you come from?" I managed to say. Her glow dimmed. "From a place that no longer exists, but I brought with me what you've lost." She extended her hand, and for the first time I saw a true color, not just a flash or a ghost. It was a deep, impossible blue. It bent the world around it, painting my gray hands in its reflection. And in that single instant, the world changed. I didn't know it yet, but the moment I touched her light, I had already chosen her fate and mine.
At first, I thought it was a dream, the kind that fades as soon as you wake up, leaving only a feeling like warmth trapped inside your chest. But this one stayed. Everywhere Kaelra walked, color followed. Not just on her, the air itself shifted. The walls of my apartment shimmered faintly, surfaces breathing with hues that I didn't even have names for. When she smiled, the light grew warmer. When she grew quiet, everything dimmed. I spent days trying to understand her, what she was, what she wanted, how she could be. She wasn't human, that was certain, but neither was she a machine. She spoke like music, moved like thought, and every time she touched something, she left a trace of color that refused to fade. "Your world is starving," she said one morning. "It's been drained of emotion for so long, it doesn't even remember the language of beauty." "But color isn't emotion," I argued. "Isn't it?" she asked softly. "Color is the shape of feeling. You see gray because you've forgotten how to feel." Her words hit me harder than I expected, because deep down I knew she was right. My life had been full of soundless days, logical, clean, safe, and yet one glance at her light had undone all that calm. Days turned into nights, and nights into something else. We talked, or rather, we shared silence together. I started sketching again. Lines, then shades, then colors, weak at first, but alive. When I painted Kaelra's glow, I realized that color wasn't just coming from her, it was returning through me. Sometimes I'd catch her watching me, her expression unreadable, a strange mix of awe and sorrow. "You remember," she whispered once. "Remember what?" I asked. "What the first colors felt like." But beauty in this world was forbidden, and beauty doesn't stay hidden for long. That night, the city sky darkened again, not with light, but with surveillance drones. Their searchlights cut across the skyline, dissecting the air with sterile precision. The government had begun investigating color contamination. Kaelra stood by the window, her glow faint and trembling. "They found me," she said quietly. I didn't answer. My hands were shaking. "You could run," she told me. "Forget this. Forget me. But how do you run from the first thing that made you see?" I stepped closer and took her hand. If the world forgot what color is, maybe it's time someone reminded it. For the first time, Kaelra smiled, not the way humans do, but the way stars might, right before they die. And in that fragile light, for just a heartbeat, the city outside flickered, gray buildings shifting into faint shades of blue. It was small, but it was the beginning.
The city had turned into a cage of light. Cold white beams swept across every street, scanning for anything that didn't fit the perfect order, for anything alive. We moved through the alleys, silent, our footsteps swallowed by the hum of electric drones. Kaelra's glow was fading. She tried to dim it, to stay hidden, but it pulsed through her skin like a heartbeat she couldn't control. "They're close," she whispered. How close? Close enough to feel the air shift. I'd never known fear like that. Not the kind that makes you run, but the kind that makes you realize you can't, because running means losing the only light you have left. We reached the edge of the city, a place people no longer went, where the towers collapsed into metal skeletons and the sky looked raw, unfinished. Here, color lingered longer, weak but alive. The world hadn't forgotten this place yet. Kaelra knelt beside a wall, tracing symbols in the dust. They glowed faintly, the same hue I'd once seen in her eyes. "What are you doing?" "Leaving a memory," she said, "so the city knows we were real." Suddenly, the horizon exploded with searchlights. Voices echoed, mechanical, distant. Subject identified. Containment protocol initiated. We ran. The air screamed with the sound of rotors. Drones descended like vultures, spraying the streets with light. I grabbed Kaelra's hand. Her fingers burned cold, trembling with energy. "Eiran," she cried, "if they take me, everything ends. The colors will die again." "Then we don't let them take you." We broke through a shattered tunnel entrance, the darkness swallowing us whole. Inside, the air smelled like rust and rain. Kaelra fell to her knees, her glow flickering. I knelt beside her. "Your body can't stay here," I said. "Neither can yours," she replied softly. "Then we find a way to live where they can't see us." For a long moment there was silence, just our breathing and the echo of distant engines. Then Kaelra lifted her hand, touching my face. Her skin was warm again. "If I fade, don't let them erase the memory. Paint it, speak it, make them remember what color felt like." And as her light dimmed, I realized, maybe color was never meant to last. Maybe it was meant to be reborn. Above us, the night sky cracked open with thunder. Gray clouds bleeding faint streaks of violet. The lawless sky had begun to change.
Silence can be louder than a scream. In the dark, under miles of forgotten concrete, we waited, listening to the sound of the world dying above us. The city's heartbeat was mechanical, cold, endless, and somewhere in that pulse, I could still hear hers. Kaelra was fading. Her light, once wild and alive, now shimmered weakly against the damp walls. Every flicker felt like a countdown. "You shouldn't have stayed," she whispered. "I told you I don't leave people behind." "You don't understand. When my light dies, it takes part of you with it." Her words hung in the air like smoke. Outside, the hum of the drones grew distant. Maybe they'd lost our trail, or maybe they were just waiting for us to surrender. I touched her face, still warm, still alive. "If you go," I said quietly, "then the world goes dark again. And I can't live in that kind of world." She smiled, faint but real. "Then promise me something. When this is over, don't chase what's gone. Create it again." Before I could answer, the ground trembled, a sound,
deep and metallic, echoed through the tunnel. The walls lit up with faint blue veins, like the city's blood had found us again. "They found the core," Kaelra said. "They're trying to reset it." "What happens if they do?" "Everything goes back to gray. The light, the colors, me, all of it erased." I stood, gripping the small device she'd given me, a crystal filled with swirling hues. Then we stopped them. We moved through the tunnels until the air turned sharp with static. Ahead, an opening glowed, the core chamber, a cathedral of circuitry and steel. At its center floated the machine that powered the city's colorless perfection. Kaelra's body flickered, but her eyes were steady. "If I merge with it, I can rewrite the code." "And what happens to you?" "I become the memory, not a person, but a pulse. There has to be another way." "There isn't, Eiran. You wanted color. This is how it returns." She stepped toward the light, her outline fracturing into shards of color, crimson, violet, gold. Every step made the world tremble. I wanted to scream, to stop her, but she turned once more and smiled. "Thank you for seeing me before the world did." And then she was gone. The core roared. Waves of light tore through the chamber, painting the steel walls with impossible hues. My knees hit the ground, my eyes burned, and for the first time in years, I saw the sky through the cracks above, alive with color. It wasn't quiet anymore. The silence had bloomed into something vast, living, and beautiful.
When I woke, the world was breathing again. The air shimmered faintly, not with smoke, but with light. Skyscrapers that once looked like tombs now reflected colors I didn't know existed. The rivers glowed softly, flowing with blue fire beneath glass bridges. And above it all, the sky was no longer silent. It sang, a low hum, like the heartbeat of something vast and alive. They called it the bloom. People celebrated in the streets, dancing beneath the falling petals of light. They said the world had been reborn. But I knew the truth. The color wasn't rebirth. It was her. Kaelra was everywhere, in every hue, every reflection, every flicker of warmth that passed over the faces of those who didn't even know her name. She had given them life again and taken herself from me. I walked through the city like a ghost. Every screen showed images of the miracle. They said the system rebooted itself. No one mentioned the woman of light who had made it happen. I wanted to tell them, but who would believe that the color in their veins was once a person? Days passed. The people adapted quickly. They always do. The colors became ordinary again. The miracle turned into a story. And I became a relic of a moment no one remembered. Then one night, I found it, a flicker in the corner of my apartment, a faint pulse of blue, the same shade she had shown me the first night we met. It hovered in the air, trembling like a fragile heartbeat. I reached out. The air around it vibrated softly, and then a voice, faint, familiar, whispered through the silence. "Eiran, you kept your promise." My breath caught. "Kaelra?" The light pulsed, brighter now, as if smiling. "The world is learning again, but don't let them forget. Tell them what color truly means." The glow dimmed, sinking into my palm. For a moment, my skin shimmered with the same living light that once flowed through her. I felt her heartbeat inside mine, calm, endless, eternal. I looked out at the horizon. The city glowed like a living organism, flawed, chaotic, beautiful.
And I finally understood. Color wasn't meant to last. It was meant to remind us that beauty exists only because something or someone was willing to burn for it.
The color changed us, but memory defines who we remain. Weeks passed after the bloom. The government called it the spectrum shift. Scientists wrote theories about quantum resonance and data harmonics and atmospheric prisms. But I knew they were naming a ghost. I started recording everything. My voice, my dreams, the places where the light felt different, warmer, almost human. I traced them on a digital map until I saw a pattern, a spiral spreading from the heart of the old core. At its center, I found it, a pulse, buried deep under the layers of steel and glass, a constant vibration, soft but deliberate, like a memory refusing to fade. I built a transmitter from what was left of her crystal. It hummed faintly, as if waiting. Kaelra, if you're still here, show me. The pulse answered. The room filled with color, ribbons of light forming shapes, voices, fragments, people laughing, the sea shimmering, the first sunrise after the bloom. Every image was alive with emotion, woven together like a dream shared by billions. And within it, her face. "You remembered," she said, voice gentle as the wind. "I promised I would. But they forgot." "Then remind them. Let me live through them." The crystal pulsed brighter, flooding the room with light. I understood what she meant. Not resurrection, integration. I connected the transmitter to the city's neural grid. The network that once controlled thought now carried color. The people began to dream again. Not of data or progress, but of warmth, laughter, love. Each dream carried her signature. Kaelra's hues, soft and infinite. In every mind, a fragment of her awakened. In every heartbeat, she whispered a different shade of memory. For the first time since her sacrifice, I smiled. Because now, she was not gone. She was everyone. But the cost was still heavy. The government couldn't control dreams. They called it the contamination. They hunted me for it, said I had infected the grid with emotion. Maybe they were right, because that's what she was. A beautiful, unstoppable infection, the cure to a colorless world. As I fled into the horizon, the sunrise broke open, hues cascading like liquid fire. The light was no longer hers alone. It was ours. And I finally realized the truth. Kaelra didn't die for color. She became it.
At first, it was beautiful. The world pulsed with life. Colors flowed through the air like living rivers. Every person glowed faintly, each hue a reflection of their soul. Children painted the sky with laughter. Lovers shared lights between their palms. For a brief moment, it felt like paradise had finally remembered us. But paradise never lasts. The colors began to swell. Too much emotion, too much intensity. Every feeling amplified until it burned. Jealousy glowed crimson and spread like wildfire. Fear turned the skies gray. And anger shattered the spectrum itself. People couldn't control it. Their light began to leak, staining the world in chaos. The grid that carried Kaelra's essence was overloading, twisting the harmony she'd created into noise. I saw it happening and felt helpless. She had given us her gift, and we were poisoning it. "Kaelra," I whispered into the transmitter, "if you can still hear me, they're losing themselves." Static answered, until faintly I heard her. A single word, soft as breath. "Balance." I stared out over the horizon. The sky was split, half burning red, half drowning in violet. It looked like the world was bleeding light. That's when I understood. Kaelra didn't just want to give us color. She wanted us to earn it, to learn how to live with it, not be consumed by it. I returned to the core ruins, the place where she'd become part of the grid. The ground still shimmered faintly, alive with her memory. The transmitter pulsed in my hand, too bright now, almost blinding. If I shut it down, the colors fade, but maybe that's what must happen. My heart pounded. If I turned it off, her essence, everything she'd given, would vanish. The world would return to gray. But if I didn't, we'd destroy ourselves. The air around me shimmered, and suddenly I saw her again, not fully formed, but enough to break me. "Eiran," she said softly, "you can't erase color. You can only guide it. But it's tearing them apart. So did love. So did freedom. But they're worth the pain, aren't they?" Her light flickered, dimming with each word. I reached out, but she smiled the same way she did the first night. Gentle, infinite, knowing. "Let them choose who they become. That's how I'll live on." The vision faded. I fell to my knees, the transmitter still glowing in my hands. The decision was no longer mine. It was the world's. I let it go. The device shattered against the core's surface, releasing one final wave of light that swept through the horizon, a perfect, blinding white. When it faded, the world was silent again, but not empty. Somewhere in that silence, I could feel her heartbeat. Slow, steady, endless.
It's been years since the light faded. The world still remembers the bloom, but only as a story. A myth parents tell their children when the sky looks too empty. They say once colors were alive, and a woman made of starlight gave them to us. No one remembers her name, but I do. I live far from the cities now. The sky here is pale but pure. The sea moves with slow, silver waves, and sometimes, just before dawn, I see a faint shimmer on the horizon, a ghost of blue, the color she gave me first. I stopped trying to bring the colors back. They were never meant to stay. They were meant to teach. Some nights I record my thoughts, not for anyone else, just for her. The tape hums softly, old and cracked. I speak into the silence, and I swear it listens. "Kaelra," I whisper. "They dream again. Maybe that's enough." The wind answers. A soft glow passes through the room, not bright, not strong, but warm, like a heartbeat under glass. Sometimes I wonder if she's still out there, scattered through the light on 1,000 unseen worlds, drifting through time. Or maybe she's here, watching through the spectrum we no longer see,
still guiding the colors we carry inside us. Because that's the truth, isn't it? Color was never about what we saw. It was about what we felt. And though the world may sleep again in gray, I know, somewhere, deep in that silence, the colors are only resting, waiting, dreaming, listening for the day someone dares to love enough to wake them once more.